Good afternoon. TechNation editor John Wallace here. I'm excited to be with you today as we learn more about Tenacore Vending Solution, featured as the tools of the trade in the September issue of TechNation magazine. The Tenacore Vending Solution is a convenient and innovative product for healthcare facilities. This state-of-the-art inventory solution is specifically designed to store and dispense patient cables and other high-use products. With its user-friendly interface, clinicians and administrators can quickly access a wide variety of products, ensuring they always have the right equipment on hand. The machine's design allows it to fit seamlessly into any environment, while its secure storage system ensures products are kept in locked, stocked, and organized. Experience the next generation of supply chain management with the Tenacore Vending Solution. I want to thank Tenacore for sponsoring today's webinar. Today's presenter is Tenacore CEO Riley Van Hofwegen. Tenacore is a leading provider of medical equipment services and products. Throughout Riley's career, he has demonstrated an exceptional ability to lead, innovate, and adapt to ever-evolving landscape of medical device solutions and services. He is an excellent communicator with a proven track record of very successful leadership and strategic vision. Before joining Tenacore, Riley held key positions in several renowned healthcare companies where he significantly contributed to operational efficiencies and market expansion. Under his leadership, Tenacore has continued to excel in providing top-notch medical device solutions to healthcare providers, ensuring optimal patient care and safety. Now, before we begin, I want to remind the attendees that today's presentation is eligible for 1 CE credit from the ACI. 1 hour after today's broadcast, you will receive an emailed survey. Completing that survey will grant access to a certificate that you can download and print from your desktop. We will wrap up today's broadcast with a Q&A session. Please note that the webinar dashboard includes a questions feature. You can submit your questions for our presenters at any time during the demo. And I am excited to share that this year we are celebrating Webinar Wednesday's 10th anniversary. As part of that celebration, during the demo, we will give away a pair of Apple AirPods to an attendee who can answer the following trivia question. September is National Honey Month. Which state is known as the Beehive State? Answer now using the questions feature on your dashboard, and we'll reveal the answer and tell you the winner at the end of the session. Now, let's learn more about the Tenacore Vending Solution. Riley, you may begin whenever you are ready.
Yeah, thank you, John. Quite the introduction. I appreciate all of the very kind words. Thank you to all the attendees joining today. I know getting on a webinar right in the middle of the day is not always the easiest thing. So certainly wanted to thank everybody joining us remotely, and then really want to thank too our beta test facilities who helped us navigate just all the facets and opportunities that this vending program and this vending device ultimately offers. We worked out some kinks, we got things flowing how they should, and quite a few facilities helped us navigate those waters. So thank you to them. Just a brief background here on Tenacore. John, thank you for, again, the words and introducing our business. We have been in business for over 20 years, and I joined the company late 2022. And since then, we've had a pretty major revamp of the business. Quite a few new structures in place. The entire senior leadership team is either new and or brought into the new Tenacore way. And so hopefully some of you guys have experienced that and utilized our services and have seen that difference. We specialize in PM, patient monitoring service, really a depot service, and just a couple of the product lines that we specialize in: telemetry, monitors, oxygen blenders, suction regulators, and fusion pumps. Of course, what we're going to speak to pretty heavily today, patient cables, we sell parts. And so just a quick recap there. We're also ISO 13485 certified and have a complete quality management system in place that we hold ourselves to. So just very quickly, we're going to review an agenda slide here. And so what are we going to discuss today? I'd like to just go through the program as we've designed it and talk about the initial phases. So, as a potential customer of ours, how do I get a device? We'll talk about customization of the product. We'll talk about the production cycle, what that looks like, ultimately leading to an installation and an in-service at the customer facility. So far, all of our facilities have been acute care hospitals. It doesn't mean that's the only viable customer that we would work with on these. So anywhere that patient cables and/or parts and/or whole units could be of value is a candidate for one of our devices. And then finally, what goes in it. We'll talk about some of the product choice and some of the different applications. And one more thing before jumping to that one, just want to let you guys all know as well, we will have a machine live at MD Expo in October. And so if you're interested after seeing this and actually want to get your hands on it and take a look at how it works in real time, feel free to come by. We'll be at booth 201. We're going to have a lot of giveaways and some pretty cool things going on to be released as we get closer. But please do stop by. I'll be there, and be nice to see everybody. So how does this work? We've tried to simplify the process as much as possible for not only our customers, but on our end, quite a bit of prep work goes into getting these machines into the facility, making sure they function exactly as the customer would require, and ultimately solve a problem. That would be the ultimate goal. Otherwise, what's the point? So we have an enrollment and product selection process, customization and production, and then finally the installation and in-service. So as we look at number one, our enrollment and product selection. So how this will work is one of our representatives will connect with you and they'll walk you through some pretty detailed questionnaires and forms. And really what we're trying to get a sense of is just understanding the facility's utilization, ultimately at this point of the patient cables. So, what's needed in a specific department or a specific location, and what do those usage rates look like within those departments? What products are being used? If there's whole units that are being delivered through our device, how many of those units are being utilized in a daily, weekly, monthly fashion? And so we will go through a pretty intensive front-end process here, just discovering these kind of different needs. We'll also establish the service level tier. So what does that mean? Well, it's not necessarily a one-size-fits-all with these devices. We realize some facilities, some customers, they may not have the same needs as a much, call it, larger facility, or facilities with a lot more throughput. And so we do have options for different size machines and devices that will be placed. We have options for the service levels, which I'll talk about in more detail downstream here. But what I really am going to focus on today is what we call our elite tier. And that's a full service, all-encompassing option where we are going to take care of everything about the device. We're going to make sure it's stocked at all times. We're going to deliver back very detailed analytics back to the customer, back to you, and/or your teams or accounting departments. We'll handle any troubleshooting and have 24/7 access to folks who can help you navigate any kind of problems you might run into. And basically just think about it, it's a set it and forget it. The device gets placed, we do the installation and in-service with your teams, and ultimately that device will stay stocked. We will come by and have replenishment, we'll handle that for you. So going on to the next slide here, we'll look at kind of, and I've touched on this just ever so briefly, but we will be able to configure the machine. That's one of our Pro Series devices. It actually has a very large touchscreen on there. That's about 20 to 25 inch touchscreen, depending on how we configure it and how we produce the product. The number of slots going across horizontally can be adjusted. The number of rows vertically can also be adjusted depending on size and need. So if we have larger products being placed in there, obviously we can configure to match that. In this photo that we're looking at, these are all coils. We're all familiar with these. These are like the snack machine coils where it'll spin and your bag of chips will drop out. But those coils can actually be different sizes. So if we have, larger coiled ECG leads that are needed to be stocked, or 10-foot NIBP tubing, which is going to take up more space, then obviously we need to make sure the device will match that. We don't want it to be slammed in there so tight that when you go to vend or your clinical staff goes to vend, it gets caught up. We also have options for different types of delivery methods besides these coils. So we have elevator delivery systems. These would be for more sensitive products that you don't necessarily want dropping from the top. They might be parts that are fragile, and so those will be delivered by that elevator system. We also have conveyor belt systems. I never thought I'd know so much about these types of products, but conveyor belts where we can actually convey off a box. We've had fetal transducers, telemetry devices stocked in these machines, different types of PCB boards, even light bulbs that we can put into them. And so some of them require just slight adjustments to how the machines themselves are configured. All right, so we'll go through that. We'll get everything squared away on that front, make sure everything's structured, and then hopefully ultimately leading to number 3 here, which is going to be the premium installation and in service. And on that, we are going to come out and we are going to perform a white glove installation. And so Tenacore representatives will be on site. We will have navigated any kind of scheduling and making sure logistically we have devices in the facility on the proper days. We have, if needed, engineers from the hospital side, but most times in our beta sites, we haven't needed anything except to be shown where to put the units, and of course power, which has not been a problem either. We also do need access, and I'll talk about this here. We do need access to cell phone SMS technology. So there are some limitations on where we can put the device. Obviously, if it's in the depths of the basement and there's just 0 cell service, then we'd have to navigate other routes. Ideally, we want to stay on that SMS system so that we're not encroaching on any IT infrastructure, no cybersecurity issues. We are completely our own operating system here, and so there's no crossover into the hospital's systems. We will also perform an in-service. Seems silly, but we've seen in our beta sites that when we go out and we actually have user training and an in-service, typically with clinical staff. We've done it with biomed as well. They tend to have 0 issue with it, but with clinical, we'll typically come in, we'll host some different times and either have one-on-one individuals stop by, department leads, and or just clinical within the departments, and we will run them through exactly what is in the device and how to operate it. We'll also make sure they understand if there's ever an issue, what the escalation modes would be, and exactly, feeling comfortable utilizing it. Again, seems so silly, but we do find that if clinical knows it's there, they know that they have access to it at all times, then the adoption rate will be much more successful. Moving into the next phase. So this is a look here at our Pro Series machine. We saw it in some of the other slides, and so this is that Pro Series. This is basically the elite level that we would offer to our customer with that advanced LCD screen there. And so with this one, we do, you know what? And I think I missed it, but let's throw out right now, if we can, our first poll question.
All right. So the first poll question is loading. It should be popping up on your screen. The question is, what is the biggest challenge your facility faces with inventory management? Please select one of the following: cost control, stockouts, overstock, managing supplies, or other. Looks like we're getting some votes coming in. And yep, there we go. Looks like managing supplies was 52%, stockouts was 26%, followed by other at 13%, and cost control at 9%.
So no big surprise there. This is exactly what we've seen in our beta sites. It's managing the supply, making sure that you have, it seems like, you know, it's a patient cable. I don't have an ECG lead, and now I can't operate that bed. And so the hospital's now losing throughput. Nurses are borrowing the cables from one room or one department to another, especially after hours, right? Holidays, or anytime biomed and or materials management isn't available to run them the proper cables they need. So no big surprise, that's a big one. And we believe our devices with the analytics will solve for this problem. And then of course, you know, that goes right in line with the stock outs. So with our elite level, you're going to remain completely stocked on every cable required. Obviously, we can stock the same slots with the same cables if need be. I mean, we could fill this machine with close to 400 of the same exact cable if the facility would require that type of demand. Of course, that's an extreme example, but nonetheless, that's something that would be available. So getting back to then the Pro Series device, we talk about user authorization cards. So we will assign as many within reason. We're not going to do thousands of cards, nor do we think anybody would want that. But we'll assign RFID cards to any and all personnel. We've seen them assigned to specific department leads and clinical staff. We've seen them assigned, of course, to biomed and different folks within biomed. We've even had materials management assigned to them. And so it just depends on what your structure is within the facility. Those are completely customizable. We can leave them generic in the sense that we have maybe just an employee number or acronym or names. We could assign specific names to them. When we deliver back usage reports, we're going to see, you know, who used what cable where and when and how many. And so it's very, very specific analytics. And so if we're having problems with clinical borrowing cables and never returning them, this certainly will help mitigate some of that and keep them accountable to pulling out and utilizing what they need. Again, custom configuration up to 720 items. That's a certain configuration, obviously with some smaller spaces and smaller coils on there. The Pro Series, in a slide here, we'll kind of look at what's included with that. And we get some more detailed item images. We get some category filters. Yep, that's right. So if we can go back to that slide. So here's the home screen on that. It's all touch. The clinician or whomever is pulling out the product can simply push on the photo they believe they need. And it will even have instructional videos for what those products are and show you everything you need to know about it. And then once you hit that product, it'll go into a more detailed item screen where we'll show things like, the item description, we'll show potentially the OEM numbers or aftermarket numbers. These are customizable parts as well, and we can set these up to what is the most benefit. Really, what we want here, seamless integration. We want clinical to feel like they know exactly what's going on, and they're not confused, scratching their heads on what am I getting? How many leads are these? Are they pinch? Are they snap? Exactly what is going to be coming out of this, because it's going to show on the report that I pulled it. And if it's not what I need, then, dang it, I got to pull another one. And so this will give them hopefully just about everything they need. Looking at this is an essential series, we call it. It just doesn't have the fancy, screen. We'll still have flip books and product guides. Again, important that the folks pulling the product out of these machines know exactly what they're getting. So we'll have flip books that'll show them slot 1 equals this. It's a 5-lead pinch. It goes to this product. It correlates to Philips, GE, Spacelabs, Mindray, whatever it is you're running. Again, all the same benefits and features as far as user authorization cards, product guides, just not the fanciness of the big screen and some of the other benefits. So with that, let's go ahead and launch the next poll question.
Well, the poll question's loading. I do agree with Riley. I want to see everyone at MD Expo coming up. I'm going to check out one of these vending machines myself and see what it's all about. The poll question's up now. Which of the following benefits do you find most appealing about Tenacore's vending services? Please select one. Cost savings, increased efficiency, ease of access, improved inventory control, or other. People are voting, making their selections, and it looks like the big winner is improved inventory control at 46%. Followed by ease of access at 23%, and right behind that, increased efficiency.
Yeah, this is really valuable information, and certainly any of those probably would have been proper. We've seen, depending on our beta sites and testing facilities, some of them appreciate others, more. So ease of access has been a big one, making sure what they need is available when they need it. That's just been huge. We've also had beta sites that have not just one device, and so we might have really high throughput departments, more than one, right? Let's just say you're a level 1 trauma center. You need something near ICU, something near ORs. You need something near ED. We've actually had this occur with a couple of our beta sites, and it actually works really seamlessly. The folks there don't have to travel far to pull what they need. It's right there, conveniently located. Typically, we put it outside of the view of patient, kind of purview. But we have also had them right in plain sight on a thoroughfare through the facility, and they blend right in and ultimately had great success with those products being right there visible in the department. So just to recap on the program and pull it all back together. So Tenacore Vending Services, always there for you. This is your 24/7, 365 provider of inventory as you need it. Really what we hope is that our customers are never unable to treat patients because they don't have proper equipment, proper patient cables. Again, weekends, after hours, holidays, who wants to go in to deliver a couple of ECG cables to clinical? What's included in the program: full site evaluation, full vending device customization, vending device options themselves, so different sizes and configurations, unlimited options of patient cables and accessories. So Tenacore carries just about everything you can imagine. We sell just standalone every patient cable right now without the vending service product. And so whatever you can imagine as far as patient cables can be stocked in these units. So non-invasive blood pressure cuffs, tubing, ECG, SpO2, depending on what you're running in your facility, temperature probes, pressure cables. We have telemetry units stocked in these and CICUs. We have fetal transducers stocked in these for labor and delivery. We have a few of these located near biomed so they can stock high volume parts and pull them out as needed, typically plastics and things of kind of a non-electronic nature, just because we don't want electronics sitting and potentially aging out. But we do have a machine that has a couple of boards that one of our customers run through quite often. We can stock bulbs, we can stock small items, and so high use small items are available. And so kind of limitless as far as what we would ultimately be able to put into these. We will navigate through RFID and user access cards. We'll provide premium installation, employee training back to the customer and in service. The biggest benefit across all tier levels, in my opinion, and as voiced so far from our customers, is the detailed monthly reporting. I mean, these are extremely detailed reports. Everything is available from time of poll to number of polls. And so these are really great, great systems to help us navigate accountability and kind of usage. Automatic replenishment and restocking, and ultimately maintenance of the device. We continue to own the product, and so therefore we will continue to maintain and make sure it's functioning how it should. And again, just to reiterate, because this is certainly something that is a hot button topic, no facility IT required. So no networking either. We don't need to tap into the network. It's all facilitated through our very own connections to SMS cell service. Okay. And I think now we have a video. Just showing clinical utilizing the device, holding their card to it, the product coming out. It shows her extremely happy. She gets to now go use the cable as needed. Okay, so let's launch, if we can, John, the final poll question.
Sure, it's loading up now, and it asks, how likely is your facility or department to explore Tenacore's vending services? Please select one. Not on the radar right now, unsure at the moment, neutral, strongly considering it, we need this like yesterday. So we have some answers coming in. It looks like 38% said not on the radar right now, followed by 32% for unsure at the moment. So that's 70%.
And we love the honesty, so thank you guys for that. You know, hopefully as we go a little deeper, it'll make more sense for facilities. And
now, what Riley, 12% did say we need this like yesterday.
Like yesterday, yeah. So the 12%, you know, feel free to secure your spot and scan the code if it's something that you're not sure of, or possibly want to pull in other decision makers as well as yourselves into, you know, this type of, I know this oftentimes needs to touch different folks within the facility, right? We're not the ones who are going to necessarily say we could pull in and give away the real estate. And so if there's other decision makers, love to certainly get some preliminary conversations. Feel free to either email us, call us, throw a rock at us. You can scan this QR code and then certainly come by our booth out at MD Expo and take a look at it.
All right, we have some questions coming in if you have time to follow up on those.
Sure.
One person asked, does it replace the supply chain department functions?
Good question. You know, my answer to that would be no. It doesn't replace the supply chain department functions. This is supplemental to what they're doing, and really only in the high volume, you know, high problem cables and departments that have the needs. outside of standard work hours, holidays, et cetera. We don't necessarily see this replacing supply chain in total. I think that's probably too big of a scope for what we would hope to accomplish with this. And so strictly supplemental to those folks. And actually, we've seen a lot of really great feedback from those departments. Sometimes it can feel as though that might be conflicting, right? And maybe in the beginning phases of some of the betas it was, but by the end, or as we get in deeper with them, we've actually had a lot of really great positive feedback in the sense that they don't have to navigate the high volume product and continue to dish out onesie twosie, patient cables. Yeah, great question.
Another person asked, is there a threshold of usage that needs to be obtained to have this system?
Yeah, great question as well. So for our elite level and tier, we would have a usage level. Now, there's no rock bottom number to discuss here with the whole group. Our product is very customizable. We would discuss that in a one-on-one manner with each individual and decide, if their volumes could meet our thresholds for usage. If they're not able to meet it because it's maybe a smaller facility or just less throughput in that department, that's not a problem either. You're still a viable candidate for the product. It would just be a different service tier. And so, some of those, what we've structured so far, some of those tiers, rather than having all of the inventory in the machine with our elite level on consignment from Tenacore, where we still carry it until you utilize it, right? That's the platinum tier, the elite tier, which I probably didn't go into in enough detail, but sites that qualify for that elite series, all of the products inside, all of the inventory will be carried by Tenacore, and we'll true up with the site once per month on billing and accounting. If you don't qualify for that, there's different options. It could be a 1/2, customer obligation to paying for inventory inside of the machine. It could be some combination in between, 1/2 and 100% customer owning inventory inside the machine. It could also be small lease fees with machines being utilized. It's very dependent upon usage and the facility itself. Yeah, great question. So there's different, I guess, just to recap that answer, different levels, and nobody would be thrown out of the possibility of being a candidate for one of these.
Another question we had come in is, are the cables OEM original new? Are they third party, refurbished, or a combination? I guess they're asking like what products go inside the machine.
Yeah, another really great question. So we have a few customers that have large GPO contracts in place, and with those contracts, they're obligated in most of the way you can be obligated to purchase OEM cables through that GPO network or through that OEM themselves with the discounted rates. We can stock the machine with whatever is required of the facility of the customer. So if OEM is a requirement, we can stock OEM cables. If OEM isn't, we can stock aftermarket and save the cost there. We can do a combination of both. Maybe there's an agreement in place on specific types of patient monitoring, and on other types, there's not. So for instance, maybe there's GE agreements in place and you need to buy your cables from them, or OEM cables, but you have Welch Allyn spot checks and those are not on agreement. And so those could be aftermarket. Also, there might be preferences of your clinical staff. And so if the hospital's willing to pay more for those preferences, meaning maybe they want OEM, then that's not a problem either. It's going to change, obviously, the pricing tiers of the products themselves, but completely customizable.
Great. Another question we had is this rolling out nationwide or is it only available in select markets?
So it is a nationwide rollout. We have beta testers across the country, to the chagrin of some of my internal teams who have had to continuously travel back and forth to some of those areas. So we're located in Southern California and Costa Mesa, but we have machines throughout the country currently installed. And so really no market is off limits at this point. We do only stay stateside within the United States at this moment in time.
What feedback has been the most surprising?
What feedback has been the most surprising? You know, we were doing a couple of installs very early on, mostly navigating through supply chain and or biomed. And some of the most surprising things that occurred were when a charge nurse of a department would walk by ecstatic about what he or she was seeing and start naming off all of the different things they needed inside of the device to be stocked. And there were a few times we were surprised with with the products they said they needed that weren't necessarily outlined in our preliminary, surveying and understanding that site. So sometimes a curveball comes at you and no one thinks about, oh yeah, they have a big problem with this specific cable or this specific part. And so sometimes we get hit sideways with that stuff after the fact.
Another question we have is, who does the customer call if or when the machine goes down?
Yeah, another great question. So we've made it very easy to even scan QR codes on the machine. It'll take you right to an online form. You fill out what's happening, what's going on. There's also options for phone calls. Some people still prefer the old school method of picking up a phone and speaking to a live person. We have dedicated teams that their sole focus is to handle all of the replenishment, basically the entire program itself. Any needs of the customers, any type of maintenance, any issues with cell service, any issues with product inside of the machines. So anything that could possibly occur, the customer will have instant access to dedicated folks that will help navigate any of those issues.
This question goes perfectly with that one. They're asking what happens if one of the items in the machine is, if there's a recall or an alert issued?
Yeah, that's a really great question and one that aligns certainly with our ISO certifications and how we track products. So at the depth of this question, we utilize a very robust enterprise management tool in our business. In other words, a software. Our entire business is managed on the same platform. If we are made aware of a recall, then we will handle it through communication to the customer, whether it's an immediate cease and desist of using the product. We'll notify the customer, and we will obviously be on site to handle replenishment and or replacement of that product. And so again, all of this should be a very seamless process from the customer's perspective. If we're made aware from a customer, because sometimes these recalls can be communicated in all different fashions, then we will handle it the same way. We will restock or replenish the device if there's a viable product replacement. Otherwise, we'll notify customers to stop utilization depending on the level of the recall and what's called for if the agency is involved by the agency.
Right. Another question we have is what kind of maintenance or support is available for the Tenacore vending solution device itself, and how can clients access it?
Yeah, so this would piggyback on the earlier question. So 24/7 access to dedicated teams, Tenacore teams. If the device required some kind of corrective maintenance, we would have a technician there as soon as possible to rectify, whatever kind of technical issue was occurring. If we were having problems, for instance, with a specific slot or coil, not vending, we ran into that at a site where one of them got kind of binded up, and it was because they were trying to pull out too many too quickly, and because we needed to discover the fact that more space was better between those particular products, so they were binding, and we had to go out and get a team on it within, gosh, I think it was the same week, to get out there and replace the coils, replace the shelves, and get them into a functional operating state. Our goal is to make sure our customer always has access to these, right? When we say 24/7, 365, we certainly don't want our device to be the culprit of not having access. And so we're very dedicated to the program being successful and having those teams available to go out and remedy issues. If we have to, and it's an immediate, large occurrence in our beta sites, we've even enlisted some slight help from biomed. Sometimes it's simple things like reprogramming, one of the readers themselves. Again, that's just dependent on the site and how they're structured. We're not going to put our customer, make them go out of their way to start solving problems with the devices. We've seen very few, and we've remedied up to this point almost 100% of issues we're encountering. And so any kind of future issue would be very, very seldom.
Another question was, are you willing, hold on, let me read this. One of the questions was, are you locked into like the supplies? Like, can you change it month to month? If you find out you need more of something in the machine, can you change it? Or how does the machine, get updated, reconfigured, that type thing?
Yeah, so our ultimate goal would be to create a detailed map on the beginning phase and get everything in the machine exactly right and correct. And the highest volume, highest issue products are loaded into it. We understand that things change, and sometimes targets are missed. So we really want to have the right product in the right place at the right time. So if we have slow moving products, we'll consult back with our customers and figure out, is this in the wrong department? Does it need to be somewhere differently located? Is it the wrong product altogether? Right? There's so many hundreds and hundreds. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here, but hundreds of combinations of products being utilized. So, you might use one form of SpO2 in a department in your facility, and in an adjacent department just down the hall, you're using a completely different manufacturer. So one you might be using, for instance, Massimo, and in another department you may be using Philips version of SpO2. And all of us know through painstaking experience that you can't simply just plug a Philips SpO2 cable into a Massimo device. They're not cross compatible. Go figure. The manufacturers made things in their own fashion so that they're only usable with their product. And so if we encounter that, we will make adjustments and corrections as best as we can. Again, we don't want to be hasty in our initial phases of this to the extent that we fill a device and it's completely missing the target. In some of the early phases, we we probably had more of that with sites than we wanted. They didn't understand their own usage, and so we didn't understand their usage. So great question, and ultimately the answer is we want the right product in the device in order to be effective.
Another question that came in is, how often can we have an inventory report from the machine, and can it also be hooked up with the hospital information system?
So we can literally create reporting as often as is required. I don't think anybody would want reporting every minute on their device, but if that were a requirement, we can structure that. So the format of the data is, your typical format in a CSV file and or Excel file. We can also convert those to different formats that will potentially connect depending on the hospital's software system. If you're running asset management, CMMS software, 100%. We can develop APIs that will automatically connect to your systems. I can't sit here and guarantee that every single system will be compatible, but it's not a unique reporting structure. It's Excel, CSV, and very, very common. So every single CMMS has the ability for PDF and Excel. Well, I shouldn't say that. What do I know? To my knowledge, they all should have the ability to store those types of files. Great question. So as often as needed, at minimum 1 time per month.
Another question we have is it possible to get super user training for one or more from facility technical staff?
Is it possible to get super user training? So if I'm understanding the question correctly, 100% we can get super user training to the extent of, typically we want to coordinate with biomed. They're probably the ones we trust if they're going to start potentially touching and or interacting with the machines. So we would do a super training with those folks so they could potentially be first call if there were an issue. That 100% is feasible and something we actually probably prefer to do, right? We want some internal folks feeling very comfortable with solving any kind of issue that pops up. We don't want them feeling obligated to have to solve it if that's not what they want. But certainly having folks on site who we feel like are more than technically savvy and technically adept at getting this stuff fixed, we will 100% do super user training. I hope that's what was meant by that question. If not, happy to have it reiterated and answer better.
All right, it looks like we're running short on time or getting close to that 1 hour mark, so we're going to wrap it up. Riley, thank you so much today for your time. That was a great presentation. Everyone, you can find out more about the Tenacore vending solution and Tenacore in the October issue of TechNation magazine. Start a free subscription by signing up at onetechnation.com. As Riley mentioned, they will also be at the MD Expo coming up in October, and you can get your hands on the machine and check it out. I also encourage everyone to visit the sponsor online. Just go to tenacore.com. As promised, the answer to today's trivia question is Utah. So Utah is the Beehive State. Congratulations to our winner, Brett Grimm of Biomed in Common Spirit, Texas, or with Common Spirit in Texas, excuse me. Now, a quick reminder that you can obtain your CE certificate by completing the post-webinar survey. The survey will be emailed to you in about 1 hour. You must complete the survey to receive your 1 CE credit from the ACI. Once you complete that survey, you will be able to download the certificate directly from your computer and print it. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us via email at webinar@mdpublishing.com. We will be back next month for another Tools of the Trade live demo and another great prize as we continue to celebrate our 10th anniversary. Visit webinarwednesday.live for more details, a complete schedule of all of the upcoming webinars, and complimentary registration. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.